Welcome to War Room Impeachment. It's November 20th, year of our Lord 2019, episode 39, live from the historic Breitbart Embassy on the John Fredericks Radio Network, also on Salem Broadcasting and America's Voice. .news and many other stations throughout the country. Also, Raheem, we're on what platforms on podcast?
Well, iTunes is the big one. iTunes is the one getting all the action at the moment, but Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, you can catch us on all those places. And I love to see over the course of the day, not just all the numbers notch up, but site traffic right now to warroom.org is wild, as we have, I think, outdone a lot of conservative news sites, if not most conservative news sites, on coverage of today's testimony.
So go to warroom.org, you get breaking news, breaking analysis. We link to all kind of stories. If I go to certain sites, for instance, sites that used to be conservative sites, I go there, and my colleagues are Jason Miller from the 2016 campaign, Chief Communication Strategist, also for the transition, and Raheem Kassam from the United Kingdom, Nigel Farage's right-hand man and the mastermind and backup Brexit, or one of them. If I go to some of these sites today, if I'm a conservative or a Trump supporter, I could get depressed. Ambassador drops bomb, Bombshell day, John Dean moment. Ken Starr says senators may ask him to resign. I mean, just an avalanche. If you cut CNN on, if you cut MSNBC's got Brian Williams, Chris Cuomo's down here that brought all the first teams. It's just an avalanche of this is it. It delivered. It was Bombshell. So I want to start with you, Jason, and then Raheem. We've got a bunch of live polls to go through, and I think Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Laura Cooper is currently testifying. And if anything happens, Raheem, the team from the War Room right 10 feet away from us will tell us. We'll poll. So, Jason, if you're a Trump supporter and you're coming home this afternoon, you've been a hardworking American. You haven't had time to take off and watch this. You haven't had time to go to the website. You're just now going to get a chance in a few minutes to have an adult beverage, a kickback, and go to warroom.org. But before you do that, you may skim through further sites. It looks like President Trump should just kind of maybe not come back from Austin, just fly to Mar-a-Lago and retire.
Yeah, and unfortunately for even too many of the conservative sites, there's nothing, or they're writing something negative, or they're talking about an issue that's not germane at all to anything going on. And if you look at one of the mainstream media sites, maybe buried down in paragraph 40, maybe after like the second page jump, you'll find out that Sondland said President Trump never told me directly that the aid was conditioned on the investigations. The aid was my own personal guess. So you're going to find that all of our messaging is almost non-existent. I mean, the key takeaway today: there's no quid pro quo, no bribery, no extortion, no coercion, no obstruction, no witness tampering.
Didn't he say there was a quid pro quo? Didn't he back up? He's a witness of fact. Didn't he back up? And we're going to go to the clips because I think let's go back to President Trump's mantra: substance, granularity, get into the details, right? So, and we're going to get to that momentarily, but the mainstream media is telling me, the New York Times is telling me this, the NBC's telling me this, CNN's telling me this. They're telling that there was a bombshell moment, quid pro quo, bribery, extortion, everything we talked about this morning that Sondland proved.
They're trying to equate information to illegality. So the fact of who is maybe on what call at what time, even when they talk about the quid pro quo, they're trying to shift the goalpost. In his opening statement, Sondland said that there was a direct quid pro quo regarding a possible meeting being set up. Again, this was all about the military aid. Now they're even shifting it, and Raheem pointed this out when we were talking during the commercial break. The CNN headline says that it was now part of a pressure campaign. So
pressure. They went. By the way, that changed. CNN changed from a hardcore quid pro quo to pressure.
Yeah. And you know who drives pressure? Every year Congress with the NDAA. They say that the aid is directly tied to Ukraine tightening up their corruption efforts.
Exactly.
So every member of Congress is now part of this quote-unquote pressure campaign.
Okay, Raheem, let's go to the audio tape, and you tee it up, and then Jason and you will comment on this.
Well, so let's start with the one thing that led CNN and MSNBC and all of these guys into the full scale. They had the nuclear headline at the top, Trump's going to jail and all this stuff. That was this clip from this morning from Ambassador Sondland.
I know that members of this committee frequently frame these complicated issues in the form of a simple question. Was there a quid pro quo? As I testified previously, With regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes.
Now, I think we would all agree that as far as the opposition narrative is concerned, that was a slam dunk moment. Apart from the fact that immediately after that, that was at 10 a.m. is when Gordon Sondland said that, this Ambassador Sondland this morning. Immediately after that, it becomes increasingly clear, per the testimony given, per the questions that Ambassador Sondland is asked, that number one, not only was he not talking about a desired quid pro quo from the president, he was talking about A, what he had inferred that Mayor Giuliani had said to him, and B, what he had presumed in what became known as the 2+2 quote and comments all day. That is to say that, hey, if the aid is being held up and you can't deduce any other reason, did you come to this belief system in your mind? And I'll remind the audience, for those that listened to us this morning, that something that Jason Miller and I both hit upon within the first few moments before the testimony, when the opening statement of Ambassador Sondland was released, he said on page 5, I later came to believe that the resumption of security aid would not occur unless there was a public statement from Ukraine committing to the investigations. And we picked up on that this morning. I later came to believe is not an expression of fact. It is not an expression that the president said anything. So the media all capitalized on that one clip that we played just now, but they didn't factor in, and they hadn't factored in until about just now, I would say, if I'm not mistaken, Jason, when the CNN lead story changed, exactly what these guys deduced from Ambassador Sondland later on. I want to play you guys this clip also, just to hammer that point home.
So you didn't talk to President Trump when Ambassador Taylor says that that's what you told him? Is that your testimony here?
My testimony is I never heard from President Trump that aid was conditioned on an announcement of elections.
So you never heard those specific words?
Correct.
Right, but...
Never heard those words.
And, well, let's move ahead.
Of course he wants to move ahead there, because that's the Democrat counsel asking him questions about the quid pro quo, and Sondland effectively admitting that actually, you know,
One
the
thing I want to
president
pull,
never
I know
instructed.
you're busy, but one thing I want to pull, and maybe do with it, I want to pull Maloney, is it Sean Maloney or Mahoney up in New York, the congressman from New York. He goes back and cleans this up, though, later, doesn't he? He says, hey, you've been wandering all over the map, and I know you're going to go to more of the wandering, but he comes in later and says, and play your other things, because he comes in later in the afternoon and says, hey, you've had it both ways. You had it one way the first time you testified in the Star Chamber. You then corrected that. You've come here today. You had one thing in your opening statement, and now, and you one thing when Schiff is interviewing you, asking questions, but then you rolled over on with Jordan and company, right? And he goes back and cleans it up and asks him the same series of questions again, though, and has him come back with I believe, a stronger support.
Well, and several people did that.
Is
over
this
the
guy
course
too
of the
cute?
day.
The theme this morning, he was too cute by half.
Yeah, that's
he was
exactly
trying to
what
have.
happened.
Well, did he not pull it off?
Do you know what's interesting is
It's a Rorschach. It's a Rorschach test
Yeah.
that if you depending on where your angle of attack on this is, you got something. CNN's got their headline, or they had to dial it down.
Yeah.
And clearly, people on the right that are following this closely feel that, you know, we're in pretty good shape.
Do you guys have such a thing as a score draw in any sports here? You know, in soccer, we have a score draw. A draw can be 0-0, 0-0, or you can have a score draw, which is 1-1.
Well, a draw
which
here,
is-
a draw here, a tie goes to the right. If this is a draw, that goes to President Trump, because this was supposed to be, as
Of course it does.
Jason jumping in here, this was
Go
supposed to be the night. They thought they had the night when McGinley sat here the other day, and for the audience just coming to us, we had Bill McGinley, the cabinet secretary, on the very first day said, hey, they thought they were going to get a knockout punch. They didn't get it. It's a war of attrition. But this was their second. They thought this was knockout punch
And
day.
Steve, starting with Sunday morning and Monday morning and Tuesday morning, they were saying this was the one. This was the witness. Don't worry if last Thursday wasn't a knockout punch, if yesterday was a knockout punch. I mean, NBC and ABC this morning blaring the most anticipated witness yet. Washington Post headline this morning, comes down to one guy. That's the literal headline. And what we saw actually is, look, I mean, Gordon Sondland pretty much was exactly who we thought he was. He's an exaggerator. He's a puffery extraordinaire. He's a, as I said,
Demonstrating value.
right.
in your
He's
great
basically
terms.
he's a Grey Poupon commercial waiting to happen. And he went up there today, and I got to agree with Raheem on this. He actually held it together with his confusing, make no sense. I don't have my notes in front of me, but
He gave a
again,
little to the left and a
Well,
little to the
remember,
right.
the scuttlebutt beforehand was going to take the fifth. He was
Yep.
going to look for an immunity deal. He was not going to show up.
Yeah.
There were a whole range of options. He didn't do any of that. He walked into the lion's den, and at first it looked like it was going to be horrific, and then it got turned around as we went into this. People started asking questions.
And Raheem, this might be the next clip you're going with, but how many times did the word presumption or my own presumption come up today? I mean, that Mike Turner clip, that back and forth with Turner and Sondland
Turner's fantastic.
was
Do we
devastating.
well, go in the sequence you want to, Raheem. We don't want to.
Well, we're already out of sequence now.
No,
but
go
let's-
back to your sequence.
Let's play Mike Turner.
Okay.
I think it makes the difference.
Devastating.
Chairman Schiff ran out and gave a press conference and said he gets to impeach the President of the United States because of your testimony. And if you pull up CNN today, right now, their banner says Sondland ties Trump to withholding aid. Is that your testimony today, Ambassador Sondland, that you have evidence that Donald Trump tied the investigations to the aid? Because I don't think you're saying that.
I've said repeatedly, Congressman, I was presuming. I also said that President Trump.
So no one
never
told you, not just the president. Giuliani didn't tell you, Mulvaney didn't tell you, nobody, Pompeo didn't tell you, nobody else on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying aid to these investigations. Is that correct?
I think I already testified.
No, answer the question. Is it correct? No one on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying this aid to the investigations. Because if your answer is yes, then the chairman's wrong and the headline on CNN is wrong. No one on this planet told you that President Trump was tying aid to investigations. Yes or no?
Yes.
So, you really have no testimony today that ties President Trump to a scheme to withhold aid from Ukraine in exchange for these investigations.
Other than my own presumption.
Which is nothing. I mean, that's what I don't understand. So you know what hearsay evidence is, Ambassador? Hearsay is when I testify what someone else told me. Do you know what made-up testimony is? Made-up testimony is when I just presume it. I mean, you're just assuming all of these things, and then you're giving them the evidence that they're running out and doing press conferences, and CNN's headline is saying that you're saying the President of the United States should be impeached because he tied aid to investigations, and you don't know that, correct?
I never said the President of the United States should be impeached.
Nope, but you did. You have left people with the confusing impression that you were giving testimony that you did not. You do not have any evidence that the President of the United States was tied to withholding aid from Ukraine in exchange for investigations. I yield back.
By the way, I know the team. We got a rapid response. I'll guarantee you that CNN does not play that clip
Right.
all evening. Hey, we kept saying, what was our mantra here? Somebody's got to step up and make a play. Mike Turner stepped up today and made a play, right? One of the best sequences in the entire day, galvanizing if you were watching this.
Yeah, and this is really the crowded house moment, the don't dream it's over. This is the day that the music died. This was the Democrats' last best chance to get President Trump, and they missed. It failed spectacularly. They didn't get it.
Okay, can one of your guys, you pull the Maloney clip I'm talking about? Because he came in after Turner. I think Turner, so it was Turner, Jordan, and Stefanik so beat up, and maybe we do all three of those. Maloney had to come in. Is it Mahoney? I think it's Maloney, right?
Maloney.
Had to come in and clear it up, but that was another dramatic moment from the Democrats. By the way, if you didn't see this, it was a sparring match all day.
Yeah, and credit to Jim Jordan and Elise Stefanik and some of the others as well. Ratcliffe also,
Yes, strong.
who also came out bursting out of the blocks on the Sondland issue today.
And one of
Look,
the reasons
here's-
they had to be so strong, and let's be brutally frank here, the Goldman, their prosecutor, is good.
He's good.
He's good. Our guy, some people said today he did a great job. Hey, he seems like a great guy. He may be the best they have. I'm sure he's a decent guy. He just doesn't compare to Goldman. That's why we have to have so many people. Stefanik, Jordan, Turner, Radcliffe. They got to step up and make plays.
I'll say this in Castor's defense. There's the Republican counsel on this. And also, I think where the Democrats keep slipping up and where CNN keeps slipping up here, These guys are fighting the media war on this. These guys are fighting.
What does that mean?
Well, because what the polling is going to show, which we're going to discuss in the next half of the show, what they're seeing is that people are tuning out. The independents are shifting away from impeachment, and so they're always looking for these big gotcha moments, like they thought they had with Sondland this morning. What the Republicans and Republican counsel seem to be doing is preparing for the Senate trial, and that is something completely different to winning the media war.
One thing is, we go to some of these other clips. One of the things that was trending early this morning was after the first break they took, which was early, and Schiff called this. And one of the reasons he wanted to run to the microphones is after Sondland's opening testimony and their first two things, they had that moment where Nunez turned to Jordan, and you could tell he had had better mornings, right? It was a look of concern on his face, as it should have been. Sondland's opening statement was not great. But and Schiff does what he always does. Ran down to a set of microphones and essentially said, we can impeach the president. We can just kick it to the Senate tomorrow because we got what we need, right? But then you saw the rest of the day, people stepping up and making plays, drilling down into the granularity of what happened.
Why did CNN's headline change?
Exactly. Let's play some more clips for folks. So this is good.
Let's hear from John Ratcliffe from Texas.
If there's anything sinister or nefarious in any of this, a vanilla request about corruption, a call to say I'm on my way to Ukraine, a 5-minute call you didn't remember is significant, but the primary purpose was to discuss a rapper, a call that you made where the president said, I want nothing, I want no quid pro quo, I want Zelensky to do the right thing, I want him to do what he ran on, and him telling you to go tell Congress the truth. Anything sinister or nefarious about any of that?
Not the way you present it.
Okay, and that is the truth as you've presented it, correct?
Correct.
All right, why that's important, Ambassador Sondland, is because none of that is hearsay. None of that is speculation. None of that is opinion. That is direct evidence. And ultimately, that is what, if this proceeds to the Senate, they're going to care about. Unlike this proceeding, which has been based on largely speculation and presumption and opinion, this is direct testimony and direct evidence. And to that point, none of that included evidence about the Bidens, and none of that included evidence about military assistance, because President Trump never mentioned either of those to you, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So going back to the July 26th call, because it's going to be a spectacle tomorrow, you didn't remember it because it didn't strike you as significant at the time. Is it fair to say that if the President of the United States was asking you to do or say something improper or unlawful, that would have been significant to you?
Yes.
All right. And if that call was part of a bribery or extortion scheme that you were part of, as Democrats have alleged, you'd remember that as significant, wouldn't you?
I was not a part, and I would have remembered.
I understand that.
Pretty impressive stuff.
Pretty impressive. Bang, bang.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the main takeaways, so David Axelrod actually hit the nail on the head on this when he tweeted after Will Hurd was doing his closing, and he said, look at Will Hurd. He's like, look at the body language. Right. This is someone who, if there was going to be someone who'd wander away and possibly vote for impeachment.
We've been on Hurd from day one.
Right. And he's like very clearly is not going to go anywhere. And again, if we have a united Republican vote in the House, it's not going to happen in the Senate. And Mike Braun, who is senator from Indiana, who we had on last week, essentially shot down that there's any kind of momentum or any shift in the wrong direction in the Senate. He said, quote, this thing looks like it kind of crescendoed maybe 3 weeks ago, said Mike Braun. There's been nothing that's changed the dynamic, even with Sondland's discussion today. His is an interpretation. He was presuming.
3 weeks ago, that was Matt Gaetz going to the Star Chamber and the kickoff of War Room impeachment. Hey, I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. Let's go to what else we have on this. Do we have Stefanik? And I want to go to Maloney because I think Maloney tries to clear it.
We'll have to get Maloney in the break.
That's fine.
But we've got Jim Jordan and Elise Stefanik.
Okay,
let's hear from what Jim Jordan had to say today.
Chairman asked you about the security assistance dollars. You said there needed to be a public announcement from Zelensky. So I'm asking you a simple question. When did that happen?
Never did.
Never did. They got the call July 25th. They got the meeting, not in the White House, but in New York on September 25th. They got the money on September 11th. When did the meeting happen again?
Never did.
You don't know who was in the meeting?
Which meeting are you referring to?
The meeting that never happened. Who was in it? You know how Zelensky announced it? Did he tweet it? Did he do a press statement? Did he do a press conference? You know how that happened? I mean, you got all three of them wrong. They get the call, they get the meeting, they get the money. It's not 2 + 2, it's 0 for 3. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. And you told Mr. Castor that the president never told you that the announcement had to happen to get anything. In fact, he didn't just not tell you that, he explicitly said the opposite.
He explicitly did say the opposite, and that comes to what we were talking about just before, which is the 2+2. You know, the Democrats going on the 2+2. The
Yes.
two, the military assistance was withheld, and the other two, which was, the president wanted these investigations to happen,
Yes.
and they put those things together, and you come up with what Gordon Sondland admits was his presumption. And Jim Jordan there, you just said, that's not 2+2. That's 0 for 3, because none of those things actually ended up transpiring.
This was the difference, jumping here, Jason, this was the difference between his opening statement, which went for almost 45 minutes, right? And then the Republicans having to fire back on him. So it was much better at the end of the day. But his intention was to, I think, throw everybody else under the bus and do enough of a standoff that you can imply that the President of the United States was thrown under the bus too, without actually getting Trump's ire up enough that he'd have a tweet bomb on him.
And Steve, I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning of the show, which is how could every headline on every website have this wrong? And I would say a little bit of what's past is prologue. I mean, take a look at Jim Comey. Take a look at the Russia collusion. Take a look at every
2000,
single...
you were there, 2016, election night, November 8th and 9th.
Yeah, it was over. It was over. Look at
Blowout.
every single place where the mainstream media has choked and gotten this wrong. The Never Trumpers, where they have choked and gotten this wrong. This is yet another example today. And the impeachment witch hunt it's going to drag on for a little bit longer, but this was their chance. It's
You
over.
think this was their high watermark?
Yeah, this is absolutely the high water, because they're going to try to make Fiona Hill tomorrow. They'll try to make David Holmes. They'll try to have them come back and undercut some of this, but no one else with firsthand knowledge of talking with the president. This was it.
Remember, they cleared the day in the middle of the week for this.
Yes.
This was the peak for them. They really thought this was the shot. And what it's going to come down to now, again, I want to keep stressing this point, this is going to be about a Senate trial, right?
Evidentiary. Okay, that's our music. We're going to take a short commercial break. You're here on War Room Impeachment. Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller, Stephen K. Bannon will return in just a moment.
War Room, Impeachment, Bannon, Miller, Kassam. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room Impeachment, 20 November, the year of our Lord 2019, episode 39. We're live from the Breitbart Embassy on Capitol Hill, close to the Supreme Court, and we're still going on the historic impeachment inquiry of Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Laura Cooper is up there right now. She's the woman that oversaw programmatically the arms sale to, or the arms transfer, I guess, to Ukraine. She's a critical part of this. We are on the John Fredericks Radio Network, the Salem Broadcast Network, and also on America's Voice.news. Very honored to be on America's Voice as they live stream this. Also our website. Go to warroom.org. It's on fire, and I'm really proud to say in the first half hour and now we're probably the only site that's condensing all the key elements, particularly of the conservative, the Republican fireback. But what I want to do first, we're going to go to, is it Ken Starr? What are we going to do first, Raheem? Ken Starr?
Yeah, we're going to do Ken Starr. Why don't you tell us who Ken Starr is?
Well, Ken Starr was the prosecutor in the impeachment of Bill Clinton back in the 90s, and as someone's been on cable TV all the time, and he had a shocker. It was up on Drudge and all the aggregating sites this morning. Kind of gave the sky is falling. This is a John Dean moment. This is horrible. That Republican senators are going to look for, to have the president resign. I mean, the headlines coming out of his morning thing was horrific. So why don't we go to that?
You and I got into it this morning about
We
it.
did get into it. It's another typical day, another day at the office.
Let's hear what Ken Starr had to say this morning.
There will be articles of impeachment. I think we've known that. I think it was just confirmed today. And then substantively, what we heard from the chairman just now is it's over. We now know, I mean, this is his position. We now know that the president, in fact, committed the crime of bribery to something of value. That's litigable, but I think the articles of impeachment are being drawn up if they haven't already.
Okay, but this is after the opening statement when Nunes and Schiff had a few comments and Schiff had to run to a microphone. He knew strategically he wanted to weaponize this immediately, couldn't wait, and that's what he did.
Yeah, and he went out to the hallway, and Schiff had a little brief press avail where he answered questions.
A gaggle.
A gaggle, yeah. He went to, gave the networks a chance to everyone to get the panels going and talk about how explosive, how damning,
Bombshell.
how tough this is. But then, Raheem, what did Mr. Starr come back with later?
But Bob, even in his defense, though, he did say that this was Schiff. He said the chairman. I think that was missed.
It was missed.
It was
People thought
missed.
It was him saying it.
It was missed. People said it was him. He was not. He specifically was talking about Schiff.
Yeah, Fox News went on to clarify that later and amend their tweets about the matter. But here's what Ken Starr said this afternoon.
However, now we see the other side, and one of the most effective things today, I believe, was the president just quoting what he did. That finally came out. Namely, I didn't want anything. Just tell President Zelensky to do the right thing. Now, that's the one-on-one with Ambassador Sondland himself. We learned today that he chose not to put that in his opening statement. And I thought Mr. Castor really pressed him on that. Well, why not? Why wouldn't you put that conversation into your opening statement? So I think there has been, shall I say, some questions raised about why the ambassador would not have been more complete in his opening statement. Obviously, the opening statement was very long, very detailed. Why didn't he include that? However,
let's go to this president. Let's go to the president talking about this very thing. The president had his Sharpie out. You've seen that many times, Jason. He's had the Sharpie out, wrote some notes himself, and I think went out and really addressed this.
This is a short one. This is just off the president's Twitter feed, and it's him combined with what Ambassador Sondland said today.
Ready? You have the cameras rolling? I want nothing. That's what I want from Ukraine. That's what I said. I want nothing. I said it twice.
And he just said, I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo.
Tell them.
That's good. Okay, now here's where the mainstream media are hit. The date of this. What they're arguing is that this was after the whistleblower. This was after the. Actually, I think even there was the House had actually announced they were going to start an inquiry into this. So we'll get the timeline. Their pushback on this is yes, it sounds perfect, but this is after you already knew the plot was already given up.
Yeah, and this is, and by the way, I want to make an open call to anyone on the left, anyone from CNN who wants to sit here in the war room with us and have this out, because I'll bench press you on it. Here's the thing. The White House knew at around April the 14th, that is the most pinpoint to the date that we can get, they knew that there was this complaint in. They knew from a CIA lawyer that had gone to the Justice Department, that had gone to the White House, they knew that there was this complaint about this call. The press will...
Not April 14th, August 14th.
Sorry.
August 14th.
I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Raheem's in charge of the timeline, by the way. Now you're scaring me.
Yeah, I'm on the other calendar. So they knew on August the 14th that this was taking place. To allege that they would wait until September the 11th, which is the day that the money was actually released, if they were panicking, and Adam Schiff today alleged they were panicking. Adam Schiff today said the only reason they did this is because they got caught. Well, if you knew you were, quote-unquote, getting caught on August the 14th, you don't wait until September the 11th.
Let's go. Do we have Stefanik? And what else do we have? I want to hold and get Maloney at the end because he's the one who tries to clean it up.
Yeah, we have Schiff and we have Maloney, but we should do a little bit of Stefanik.
Thank you, Ambassador Sondland, for your service. And I also want to thank you for your recognition in your opening statement of your hardworking staff at the U.S. mission to the EU. Mr. Sondland, you testified that you never received any direct confirmation or specific information as to why there was a hold on aid.
That's correct.
And in fact, you testified, quote, President Trump never told me directly that the aid was conditioned on the investigations, end quote.
That's correct.
You said, quote, never heard those words from the president, correct?
Correct.
Instead, you testified that in your September 9th call with President Trump, the president said, quote, no quid pro quo. I want nothing. I want nothing. I want President Zelensky to do the right thing, do what he ran on, end quote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the fact is, the aid was given to Ukraine without any announcement of new investigations.
That's correct.
And President Trump did, in fact, meet with President Zelensky in September at the United Nations, correct?
He did.
And there was no announcement of investigations before this meeting?
Correct.
And there was no announcement of investigations after this meeting?
That's right.
And you've been very clear when Chairman Schiff has asked you broadly about investigations. You've corrected that to say specifically your understanding of investigations are investigation into the 2016 elections and investigations into Burisma. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And are you aware that during the Obama administration, the U.S. partnered with the UK and Ukraine on an investigation into the owner of Burisma as part of Ukraine's anti-corruption efforts?
I became aware of it today during the hearing.
Other witnesses have testified, but yes.
And that's important given the news, Jason, about Burisma that's coming out today.
Yeah, breaking. I mean, you'd think that this was magically coordinated, but Ukraine has widened its investigation into the founder of Burisma. It includes suspicion of embezzling state funds. Ding, 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 ding. And so they're going right after the founder.
Isn't this why the American people, it's the duty and obligation of the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States to make sure if you're shipping over, was it $350 million, right, to a country that's the Guardian says the most corrupt country in Europe, that this is the kind of thing that you got to watch out for?
Yeah, and again, this is the Ukrainian parliament that's pushing ahead with this.
Right.
This isn't like some political activist over there, some allegation or some charge. And this is their lawfully...
And this is why Zelensky was elected.
Yes, to clean this stuff up. And so they're going right at it, which, by the way, what's happening tonight? Democratic debate. Joe Biden front and center, 9 p.m. They're still going to be going with this, the impeachment witch hunt here on CNN. I guess, the debate's on MSNBC. But will someone ask Joe Biden about this new revelation on Burisma?
This is the Democratic primary has now become the witness protection program, right? You're not even here to... these guys are such a pillow fight internally. It's like the Bernie Sanders Clinton. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody brought it up tonight. Maybe a guy asking a question, the MSNBC, Rachel Maddow in that crowd may ask it, but I'm not so sure that Mayor Pete and these guys jump in his face.
I will wager $100 and more that nobody challenges Biden on this stuff.
I think that there's a chance they kind of nose around it and say, what do you say about these allegations? You're too tightly connected to Washington, D.C. to be an insider, something of that nature. And they kind of hint around it, Hunter, but don't go head on into it as in like, hey, your son was on the board of this corrupt company that's now under...
Yeah, and by the way, the Obama administration was actually briefing ambassadors
100%.
On the issue because they knew it was a problem.
Well, the one investigation ever done was done by the Obama administration, right? Have we gotten to Jordan yet? I know we did Mike Turner. Did we do Jordan?
We did Jordan.
Okay, fine. Let's go to we've got Schiff and we've got Maloney. We got those two? Let's do them.
So, and here's the thing: we want to give the view from both sides.
100%.
Right?
You got to do the other side. This is a full information.
Absolutely.
Colleagues seem to be under the impression that unless the president spoke the words, Ambassador Sondland, I am bribing the Ukrainian president, that there's no evidence of bribery. If he didn't say, Ambassador Sondland, I'm telling you I'm not going to give the aid unless they do this, that there's no evidence of a quid pro quo on military aid. But nonetheless, Ambassador, you've given us a lot of evidence of precisely that conditionality of both the White House meeting and the military assistance. You've told us, Ambassador, have you not, that you emailed the Secretary of State and said that if these investigations were announced, the new justice person was put in place, that the Ukrainians would be prepared to give the president what he wants, and that would break the logjam. You've testified and showed us documents about this, have you not, Ambassador?
I have.
And in your written statement, you say that the logjam you're referring to includes the logjam on security assistance, correct?
Correct, as my presumption.
Yes, and we also have seen, and you testified, that you have also seen Ambassador, or rather Acting Chief of Staff Mulvaney himself acknowledge that the military aid was withheld in part over the investigation into 2016 that you've talked about. You referenced that as well, correct?
Correct.
Now, they also seem to say that, well, they got the money. The money may have been conditioned, but they got the money. Yes, they got caught. They got caught.
Okay, what is he laying out there?
That's exactly what we were discussing just after the break,
Yes.
right? This is the idea that the Trump administration only ended up releasing the money. And by the way, we're also forgetting that not all the money has been sent over yet, because of the procedural nature of it. That they're saying that this was only released in as much as they could release, and as much as they could release it, and as fast as they could release it, because they got caught. Well, again, if that were the case, not only would it have not taken a month, but they would have sent the entire tranche over immediately and expedited everything. You can tell that there are still major corruption concerns. You can tell there are still major concerns over how the money is going, over this new process that they have in terms of foreign military assistance with Ukraine, because it's actually going through
There should be a slew,
measures.
Jason, there should be a slew of emails, text messages. I mean, to get this money out. Eventually, if this does go to the trial in the Senate, which we assume they're going to bring these articles of impeachment after the media avalanche today, that you'll get more evidentiary material in the Senate trial.
Yeah, and I think also there could be good evidence that actually clears President Trump of these allegations and for what's being said. But obviously with presidential privilege, and we're going to see a lot of that.
Executive privilege, yes.
Right, executive privilege. We're going to see a lot of that play out. And so I wouldn't necessarily go to any assumptions about what we're going to see or not.
Since Sondland threw Pence under the bus, threw Secretary of State Pompeo under the bus, through National Security Advisor Bolton under the bus, would Bolton want to come forward now and actually testify?
No, I think Bolton will tease it up and play it up because he has a book deal coming out. So he wants the right amount of
You're so cynical.
Scandal. And
You've
that's
been
what-
in this town too long.
That's what they call him, book deal Bolton. He's going to want the right amount of.
I just
hubbub.
drawing that out. I had to have that.
I mean, it's like just hit the Staples button. Book deal Bolton. So he's going to go and hype that up. Then he doesn't actually want to go and turn on the president. But here's the thing: Mark Short, chief of staff to the vice president, came out and said that this meeting between Sondland and the vice president never happened. And this goes back to again that Gordon Sondland was getting chopped up on all of his details. He was all over the place. But when he's actually called out and put to the mat, did anyone say that there was? Did the President Trump say to go do this, or anyone say that there was a direct quid pro quo? He's like, no, I would just presume.
Okay, he got chopped up. He got chopped up all day after saying, but then Maloney tried to come in and make him whole. Let's go through that.
Who would benefit from an investigation of the president's political opponent?
Well, presumably the person who asked for the investigation.
Who's that?
If the president asked for the investigation, it would be he.
Well, it's not a hypothetical, is it, sir? We just went around this track, didn't we? The president asked you about investigations. He was talking about the Bidens. When he asked you about the Biden investigation, who was he seeking to benefit?
He did not ask me about the Biden investigation.
When he
I've
asked you
said
about
that
investigations,
19 times, Mr.
Sir,
Malone.
sir, we just went through this. When he asked you about investigations, which we all agree now means the Bidens, we just did this about 30 seconds ago. It's a pretty simple question, isn't it? I guess I'm having trouble why you can't just say.
When he asked about investigations, I assumed he meant.
I know what you assumed.
Company.
But who would benefit from an investigation of the Bidens?
They're two different questions.
I'm just asking you one. Who would benefit from an investigation of the Bidens?
I assume President Trump would benefit.
There we have it. See? Didn't hurt a bit, did it? Didn't hurt a bit. Let me ask you something.
Mr. Maloney?
Hold on, sir.
Excuse me. I've been very forthright, and I really resent what you're trying to do.
Fair enough. You've been very forthright. This is your third try to do so, sir. Didn't work so well the first time, did it? We had a little declaration come in after, you remember that? And now we're here a third time, and we got a doozy of a statement from you this morning. There's a whole bunch of stuff you don't recall. So all due respect, sir, we appreciate your candor, but let's be really clear on what it took to get it out of you.
Pretty tough stuff, but
Pretty tough. But you think Maloney's going to be the headline guest on a couple of shows tonight on CNN? And if MSNBC didn't have the debate, he'd be all over that.
Yeah,
too.
and he'll be on Jimmy Kimmel too. But here's the thing, that shows to me a Democrat who's rattled. He says,
Big time.
We got things out of you
Big
this
time.
morning.
You had a
but it's
doozy.
going
You had a
against
doozy.
us this afternoon.
But here's the thing. I mean, and look, yes, I'm a strong Trump supporter, so I don't want to totally gloss over it. I mean, this was, in fact, a real deal Brie and Chardonnay in the headlights moment for Gordon Sondland. So it wasn't his best moment. But what ultimately Maloney got him to admit to was some hypothetical.
Right.
And that's the thing. When we come back, Steve, you've been the first one to say this coming back over and over. The facts are our friends. When we go back to the facts, they're always on our side on this.
Okay, speaking of facts, what we're going to do, we're going to have more of this tomorrow morning. Anything else we got to go through on this? Because I want to turn to
Wisconsin.
I want to turn to the polling and then the debate tonight. Raheem, if you tell us okay to go. Okay, let's go to some of the polling. We had meltdown with ABC, which was a 2-pager with no crosstabs, 51%. Morning Joe talked about it again this morning. But we've actually had Morning Consult. We had the NPR poll. Now we've got Marquette. You got real great polling coming out, and it seems to be shifting back to the president. Yet crickets by the mainstream media.
Right. So go to Wisconsin, a state that nobody expected President Trump to win in 2016. He did. New poll out from Marquette. They're kind of the Mac Daddy of
Big time,
pollsters
big
when
time.
it comes to Wisconsin. 800-person sample went from last Wednesday to this most recent Sunday. Not only does it have President Trump leading the top 4 Democrats. So
it's a first.
That is
this Marquette poll, people should know, has not been that great for the president here.
This
in
is
the last couple
Wisconsin.
months.
This
Yeah.
is where people are saying, "Oh, it's lost. Don't go there." Here is the shockwave.
I think he was down at 12 at one time in this.
Here's the shockwave. Only 40% support impeachment, 53% oppose impeachment. And
Hello.
that's in Wisconsin.
Hello.
Sirens,
Hello.
alarm bells.
31 Democrats, 31 freshman Democrats in those districts. And Wisconsin's not a right-wing state. 40% support, 53% said, hey, I think we ought to focus on the rest of the work of the country.
So remember when there was a round of polling a couple of weeks ago where I think it was the ABC Washington Post where it said in the battleground states, this is essentially a jump ball, or Trump's leading in a handful of them. And so no matter how devastating this national survey news was looking in the swing states, this is another reflection of that. But people, they're going back to this too confusing. It's a waste of time, waste of money. They don't see the knockdown punch from the Democrats. They're like, well, if you haven't gotten them now, what's going on? I can't stress enough how big this is for the state of Wisconsin, which is not a right-leaning state.
And here's the other thing about the media, the PSYOPs. The ABC poll was everywhere. Morning Joe talked about it this morning. Nicole Wallace talked about it. They're all talking about it. These polls, the NPR, Marist poll, which is a solid poll, Morning Consult, Politico, these are not right-wing groups, right? It's not Breitbart. These are
They are massive 2,000-person polls.
These are real polls, and then
you
you get the market. You got Marist, you got Morning Consult, you got Marquette. These are legitimate guys. All of them seem to have some sort of trend towards the president, maybe away from impeachment. Crickets. Right? They're up on their own site, but you don't see them blown it anywhere else.
We're not going to see Cuomo up with one of his fancy graphs tonight on CNN talking about this.
That graph so confused me last night. The thing exonerates the president was all 0. No check marks, right?
No check marks. Like as if David Hale was going to come forward and like, gee willikers, I have something that clears the president on something that never happened.
Okay, for you two guys, we got a couple minutes left. Witness protection program tonight is the Democratic debate. It's so shocking. Nobody's talked about this at all.
I completely forgot it was happening tonight.
It is. I hate to say it. They're running for student council president. Yeah. Unless you're going to talk about international affairs, it is so boring, right? And we're political junkies.
You saying the LGBT debate didn't move you?
Well, no, but listen, I don't mind if it's especially a debate. That's fine. But when CNN does a 3-hour look, if they have a climate change or LGBTQ, those debates, that's fine. Those are specialized things they can do. I'm saying when they have a general debate like CNN. Right, it's supposed to be the international news a couple of weeks ago, 3 hours. I think there was 2 questions on foreign. Never asked a question on China. How do you do that? That's one of the things. And tonight we're going to see if Rachel Maddow and team really hammer these guys. One of the things we're always looking for is Bernie Sanders had all the information he needed in 2016 to take the heat to Hillary Clinton. Right? Why is this not happening, Jason? What do you expect tonight from the Democrats?
I think at a certain point you're going to see him start chopping up Mayor Pete. Might not happen directly, but all it takes is one tough question, then the floodgates will open. Here's the deal. Mayor Pete is up by 10 points, technically 9 points, but 10 points in Iowa. New poll from St. Anselm that was out yesterday.
Another good poll.
Has him up 10 in New Hampshire. Now, granted,
Guy's on a roll.
Except he's receiving literally 0% of the African American vote in South Carolina. So maybe there's a little bit of an issue there. But for these first two states, look, these guys have to start attacking them.
I don't watch anything that doesn't have Marianne Williamson in it.
We love Marianne. No, I love Marianne Williamson. Okay, this is War Room Impeachment. It was a special broadcast, episode 39 from the Breitbart Embassy. Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller, Stephen K. Bannon. Until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we're on with the big show, 9 a.m. to 10 on the John Frederick Radio Network, Salem, and America's Voice.news.